We're sitting in New York City where the Twin Towers came crashing. And in my town and where I live near Westfield, a lot of those young, beautiful brides that just were happily married with little tiny babies at home kissed their husbands goodbye. And there was a company in the Twin Towers called Cantor Fitzgerald, and there were others. And these women were, blindly, madly in love, and maybe they had life insurance, maybe they didn't, but they weren't thinking about divorce. Obviously, they were just married, but they also weren't thinking about death. So it's not that it's always divorce. What if it's disability or death of your spouse, right? So my entire platform is based on prepare, protect, partner to prosper. Prepare to protect yourself, partner with the right people to prosper in whatever happens. And I have a talk that I do called Be the CEO of Your Own Life. And what it entails is taking a fireproof box with different categories of dividers, credit cards, bank statements, insurance, et cetera, and so forth. And can you fill that box? And if the answer is no, because you're relying on your spouse, then I don't care how happily married you are. God forbid 9/11 happens again, or there's an accident, he's disabled and in a coma. What will you do? The moment something bad happens is not the time to get your plan together. Okay? So the preventative aspect of Divorce Dynasty is to open up everyone's eyes to what can happen, and then help them be prepared with the right team in place. Do you have the right resources for your budget? Are you thinking of what could happen to your disabled children? Are you the second or third wife? Is there a will? What will happen if, God forbid, X, Y, and Z happens? So it's education through scenarios. And that is critical because, again, I get those phone calls with, this happened yesterday. Well, now we're playing triage. And when you're playing triage, you are not thinking clearly because you're now in panic, and you're going to spend a lot more money putting that team together than if you could be preventative. So, it's like women are vain, right? We try to stay as young for as long as we can. You're investing in that vitamin C. You're investing in all these things. Invest in your financial future because just like your skin will get older, your life will pass you by. What will happen when something happens? So that's that answer. What I have seen is beyond transformational in my clients. I have had clients that have come into my office broken, gray, not because they're older, but just gray, no color, scared, asking things like, will I be able to see my kids? Imagine that question from a woman whose husband decided to leave her. What do you mean? I have seen women go from that to this, to sitting strong, to becoming CEOs of their own companies, to going back to school, to becoming entrepreneurs, but most importantly, to developing a relationship with themselves and their community. And I've watched this globally. So Divorce Dynasty, divorce is an ending. Divorce Dynasty is a building. It's a powerhouse. Think of the Chinese dynasties, right? And the two words coming together send the message of that when something really bad happens, it's a new opportunity for something really beautiful. Yes. And it's now my obligation and the professionals I work with globally to assist in that. And it's not one size fits all. To assist in that journey for people that go through loss.
Wow. It is so powerful. I'm like, as you're speaking, I feel the energy of the phoenix rising and just like turning this negative situation into this creation and taking it and empowering it, and you providing all of those services is creating a pathway, and it's just so powerful. And so now I want to jump into the projects you have with the orphans and everything with Ukraine. So do you want to share with us a little bit about that?
It's really the most moving part of my life, and it will continue to be a part of my career till the last breath I take. So I have many clients that for whatever reason didn't have children and they got divorced or they couldn't. And when the war broke out, I had a lot of my clients calling saying, we're watching these kids, these orphans, on CNN or Fox, no matter what your political affiliation was, getting evacuated. How can we help? How can we adopt? So being from Poland, working with clients in Poland, speaking Polish, I traveled to Poland right away. And I realized that there were tens of thousands of children that were evacuated from Ukraine to Poland, living in our orphanages, because Poland already has orphanages. We have an orphanage system. I met the kids. I came back. I put together a mission with senators, with rabbis, with entrepreneurs, civic leaders, business people, families to go and to visit these orphanages. We brought them coats and iPads and medicine, connected with hospitals. with the mission of helping them survive and have quality of life while they are displaced, but then to start the mission of having President Zelensky lift the adoption moratorium, which he put in place when the war broke out, and to allow American families that were already in the process of adopting finalize those adoptions. 3 years later, we just had a resolution passed in Washington through our work that sends a message to President Zelensky to lift the moratorium for those American families that we are working with. It's 200 families across America. And then second step, to lift the adoption moratorium in general. Now, some may say, why is there a moratorium? It made sense.
Can you explain for anyone?
Yes, what that means is that halt, no more adoptions. And when you have a war breakout, it's of course common for a president of a country to say, we're not letting children be adopted because there's sex trafficking and God only knows what else. There are pedophiles waiting at the border when Ukraine was being evacuated. We understood what he did, invoking something called martial law. However, 2-3 years later, when the children are still living in these orphanages, children we've met with, we work with, they're now 2-3 years older. When there's American families that were willing to adopt, especially those that were in the process, that's not okay. You don't function and develop into a regular child and an adult by living in a group setting. These kids are being cared for in Poland. I will not say they're not, but think about it. They're watching one laptop. I will never forget this. I was there recently. They're watching Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin. Think how old that movie is. On an old laptop, all lined up, 7-year-olds with their little slippers watching one little show and, having their 3 meals a day. That's not what life should look like for children. So my entire effort has been to work with the U.S., Poland, and Ukraine to lift the moratorium, allow the adoptions to resume, and to now, when the war ends, hopefully soon, to continue the dialogue between the U.S. and Ukraine to make adoptions easier. Because even before the war, it was virtually impossible to adopt a child from Ukraine.